When most people hit the age of 60, health suddenly shifts from being something in the background to becoming the central focus of daily life. Energy levels don't feel the same, sleep patterns change, bones and joints start sending signals, and the body reminds you that it doesn't recover quite as quickly as it used to. At that stage, supplements like vitamin D3, vitamin K2, and magnesium often start getting recommended by doctors, health magazines, or well-meaning friends. But the question that lingers is simple: are these nutrients really the secret to staying strong and vibrant, or are they just another fad that could do more harm than good if taken the wrong way? Vitamin D3, sometimes called the sunshine vitamin, plays a huge role in helping the body absorb calcium, which is vital for bone strength. After 60, when bone density begins to decline sharply, this becomes critical. But it's not just about bones. Vitamin D3 also influences immunity, muscle strength, and even mood, which explains why low levels are linked with fatigue, depression, and a higher risk of infections. The catch is that simply raising D3 levels doesn't guarantee health. Too much can push calcium into the wrong places in the body, like the arteries, kidneys, or heart valves. That's where vitamin K2 enters the picture. K2 acts like a traffic cop for calcium, guiding it into bones and teeth where it belongs and steering it away from soft tissues where it can cause blockages and long-term damage. Many people take calcium and D3 without realizing that K2 is the missing link that prevents dangerous buildup. After 60, when the risks of cardiovascular disease and osteoporosis both rise, this pairing becomes especially important. Studies suggest that older adults who get enough K2 experience fewer fractures and less arterial calcification, which means healthier bones and a healthier heart at the same time. The problem is that most diets don't naturally provide much K2, unless you're eating natto, aged cheeses, or certain fermented foods regularly. Magnesium rounds out the trio, and it's often overlooked even though it supports more than 300 processes in the body. Without magnesium, vitamin D can't be activated properly. Magnesium also helps muscles contract and relax, keeps the heartbeat steady, and supports nerve communication. For people over 60, magnesium deficiency can quietly worsen problems like high blood pressure, poor sleep, muscle cramps, or irregular heart rhythms. It's a nutrient that many people don't realize they're lacking, especially since soil depletion and processed foods have lowered natural intake over the decades. Adding the right form of magnesium can improve sleep quality, reduce anxiety, and enhance overall energy. But taking too much can lead to stomach upset or even serious complications if kidney function isn't too strong. So, on the surface, this trio looks like a lifesaver: D3 to bring in calcium, K2 to place it properly, and magnesium to keep the entire system running smoothly. But the real key is balance. Supplements can't be seen as magic bullets. They're powerful tools that can either strengthen health or, if taken blindly, slowly create the very problems they were meant to prevent. When people talk about vitamin D, they often picture sunshine and long summer days. It's true that the body makes D3 naturally when the skin is exposed to sunlight, but after 60, that process doesn't work as efficiently. The skin becomes less capable of producing the vitamin, and many older adults also spend less time outdoors. On top of that, sunscreen, clothing, and even living in northern regions all reduce the body's ability to generate enough D3 from sunlight alone. This means deficiency becomes common, and that deficiency can quietly erode health over time. The first and most obvious role of vitamin D3 in bone health. Without it, calcium from food can't be absorbed effectively, leading to weaker bones and a higher risk of fractures. But its influence doesn't stop there. Vitamin D also acts like a hormone, affecting cells throughout the body. It helps regulate the immune system, supports muscle strength, and even plays a role in balancing mood and cognitive function. Low levels have been linked with higher rates of infections, muscle weakness, depression, and in some cases, a greater risk of dementia. For people past 60, these are issues that hit close to home, which is why doctors increasingly recommend getting levels checked through a simple blood test. Yet, vitamin D3 is not as simple as more is better. There's a delicate balance that needs to be maintained. Too little and the body struggles to function optimally. Too much, however, and problems start to appear. Excessive supplementation can lead to hypercalcemia, a condition where too much calcium circulates in the blood. This can cause nausea, kidney stones, irregular heartbeats, and, over time, damage to blood vessels and organs. The danger is that symptoms often creep in slowly, so people may not connect them to the supplement they thought was protecting them. This is why the partnership between vitamin D3 and vitamin K2 is so important. While D3 improves the absorption of calcium, K2 directs that calcium to bones and teeth. Without K2, the extra calcium floating around has no clear instructions, and it can end up where it doesn't belong. For someone over 60, that could mean a greater risk of clogged arteries or hardened blood vessels, exactly the issues that are already a concern with aging. This synergy explains why many experts no longer talk about D3 in isolation, but rather as part of a team of nutrients. Diet and lifestyle play a role too. Foods like fatty fish, egg yolks, and fortified dairy products contain some vitamin D, but it's rarely enough to meet the body's needs. That's why supplementation is often suggested, usually in doses between 1,000 and 2,000 U daily for older adults, though the exact amount should always be based on blood test results and medical advice. At the same time, short, safe periods of sun exposure can give the body a natural boost, especially in warmer months. For those in their 60s and beyond, vitamin D3 becomes less of a casual supplement and more of a foundation for maintaining independence, strength, and resilience. But it's a foundation that requires respect. Taking it with awareness of dosage, balance, and its interaction with other nutrients to what makes the difference between protection and potential harm. When it comes to building strong bones and protecting the heart, vitamin K2 doesn't get nearly the attention it deserves. Most people have heard of vitamin K in the context of blood clotting, but very few realize that there are different forms, and K2 plays a unique role that becomes increasingly important after 60. Unlike vitamin K1, which is mainly involved in blood coagulation, K2 helps regulate where calcium ends up in the body. This is more than a small detail. It's the difference between calcium strengthening your skeleton or hardening your arteries. As people age, calcium metabolism often goes awry. The bones become more brittle, while the arteries and soft tissues sometimes begin to stiffen with unwanted calcium deposits. This paradox is one of the reasons older adults can face both osteoporosis and cardiovascular disease at the same time. Vitamin K2 acts like a traffic director, activating proteins that guide calcium into the bones and teeth while keeping it out of places where it could do serious harm. Without enough K2, supplementation with calcium and vitamin D3 can backfire, fueling vascular calcification instead of bone strength. Research has shown that populations with higher intakes of K2, particularly from foods like natto fermented soybean dish commonly eaten in Japan, have lower rates of bone fractures and cardiovascular problems. For many Western diets, however, K2 intake is minimal. While small amounts can be found in cheese, butter, and egg yolks, the levels are often too low to meet the body's needs, especially for older adults who may already have compromised bone density or arterial flexibility. This is why supplementation is being looked at more seriously for people over 60. There are two main forms of K2 used in supplements, MK4 and MK7. MK- has a shorter half-life, meaning it doesn't stay in the body very long, while MK7, often derived from natto, remains active for much longer and is usually preferred for maintaining steady blood levels with smaller daily doses. For older adults, this distinction matters, as consistency and bioavailability make all the difference in long-term protection. The benefits of K2 extend beyond bones and arteries. Emerging evidence suggests it may also play a role in insulin sensitivity, brain health, and even reducing the risk of certain cancers. Still, the clearest and most established role in the prevention of calcium misplacement. For someone over 60, the value is simple: stronger bones that are less likely to fracture, and arteries that are less likely to clog. In practical terms, that means maintaining mobility, independence, and quality of life for longer. At the same time, K2 is not without its cautions. People on blood-thinning medications like warfarin need to be especially careful, as K2 can interfere with how those drugs work. That's why it is crucial for anyone considering supplementation to coordinate with their healthcare provider rather than simply adding it in. The balance between benefit and risk is delicate, but when done properly, K2 can be the missing piece that turns other supplements into a protective system rather than a potential hazard. Among the trio of nutrients often discussed after 60, magnesium tends to be the quietest and most overlooked, yet it may be the most foundational. It's involved in over 300 biochemical reactions in the body, from energy production to nerve transmission, muscle contraction, and heart rhythm regulation. Despite its importance, magnesium deficiency is surprisingly common, especially in older adults, largely because modern diets don't supply enough and because absorption tends to decline with age. What makes this deficiency even trickier is that it often develops silently, showing up as vague symptoms like fatigue, irritability, restless sleep, or muscle cramp, signs that are easily dismissed as simply getting older. Magnesium's role in bone health is often underestimated. While calcium and vitamin D3 get most of the attention, magnesium is essential for converting vitamin D into its active form. Without it, vitamin D supplements can't do their job properly, no matter how much someone takes. Magnesium also helps regulate parathyroid hormone, which controls calcium balance in the body. For people over 60, this makes magnesium a crucial partner in preventing osteoporosis and ensuring that bones stay resilient rather than brittle. The heart is another area where magnesium quietly works behind the scenes. It helps regulate the electrical impulses that keep the heartbeat steady, and low levels are linked with arrhythmias, high blood pressure, and even a greater risk of heart attack. For older adults, where cardiovascular issues are already more common, magnesium acts almost like a natural stabilizer. When it's missing, the risks rise, but when it's restored, blood pressure often improves, stress levels calm down, and the body functions more smoothly overall. Sleep is another piece of the puzzle. Many people over 60 struggle with falling or staying asleep. And while part of that can be due to hormonal changes, magnesium deficiency often plays a role. This mineral helps activate the parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest mode that allows the body to relax. Adequate levels can improve sleep quality, reduce nighttime leg cramps, and promote a sense of calm that makes winding down easier. It's a small adjustment with an outsized effect on daily energy and mood. Of course, magnesium is not without its challenges. Different forms of supplementation can have very different effects. Magnesium oxide, for example, is inexpensive but poorly absorbed, often leading to digestive upset without significantly raising blood levels. Magnesium citrate and glycinate, on the other hand, are better tolerated and more effective. Dosage matters as well. While most adults benefit from 200 to 400 milligrams per day, too much can cause diarrhea, nausea, or, in rare cases, dangerously low blood pressure. For those with kidney disease, excess magnesium can build up to toxic levels, making professional guidance essential. The irony is that magnesium deficiency often worsens when people are on common medications used after 60. Diuretics, proton pump inhibitors, and certain heart drugs can all deplete magnesium, creating a hidden cycle of deficiency that goes unrecognized. This is why testing and thoughtful supplementation become so important. For those who get it right, magnesium can be a quiet ally, supporting everything from strong bones to restful sleep, steady energy, and a calm heart. When people talk about supplements after 60, the conversation often jumps from one nutrient to another as though they were isolated pieces. But the truth is, the body works as a network, and no vitamin or mineral functions in a vacuum. The real power of D3, K2, and magnesium comes from how they interact with each other, not from taking them separately in random doses. Understanding this synergy is what turns them from simple pills in a bottle into a system that can genuinely protect long-term health. Vitamin D3 is the gatekeeper for calcium absorption, pulling it in from food or supplements and raising calcium levels in the bloodstream. On its own, that sounds like a good thing, especially when bone density naturally starts to decline with age. But calcium in the blood is only half the story. Without clear guidance, that extra calcium doesn't always reach the bones. This is where vitamin K2 steps in, activating proteins that shuttle calcium into the skeleton and teeth while preventing it from lodging in arteries, kidneys, or other soft tissues. Magnesium plays its role by making sure the entire process runs smoothly, activating vitamin D and calming the muscles and blood vessels that are also influenced by calcium balance. The relationship is often compared to a three-legged stool. Remove one leg, and the stool wobbles or collapses. Taking D3 without K2 raises calcium, but risks arterial calcification. Taking K2 without D3 leaves bones without enough calcium to build strength. And taking either one without magnesium means the biochemical machinery needed to activate and regulate them may sputter and fail. After 60, when bone fractures, heart disease, and muscle weakness become real threats, that balance is more than just a detail, it's a necessity. There are real-world consequences when the balance is ignored. Many older adults have been told to take calcium and vitamin D supplements to protect their bones, yet studies show that this approach sometimes increases the risk of heart attacks or kidney stones. The missing piece in those cases was vitamin K2, which could have directed calcium away from those dangerous deposits. Similarly, someone with low magnesium might find that their vitamin D supplementation seems ineffective, leaving them fatigued, achy, or still deficient despite taking high doses. The body simply can't make use of one without the support of the others. Another part of the puzzle is that these nutrients also influence systems beyond bones and arteries. Magnesium calms the nervous system, improving sleep and reducing stress, which in turn helps regulate hormones and immune function. Vitamin D supports immune resilience, which is critical in later years when infections can become more serious. K2 appears to play a role in maintaining flexibility in blood vessels, reducing stiffness that contributes to high blood pressure. When taken together in the right proportions, they don't just strengthen one aspect of health. They form a shield that supports multiple systems at once. For older adults, the challenge is not in finding these supplements, but in using them wisely. Too much of one and too little of another can tip the balance from helpful to harmful. That's why it's often said that D3, K2, and magnesium should be viewed as a team rather than individual players. Their synergy is what makes them powerful, and respecting that synergy is the key to turning them into allies rather than risks. By the time someone reaches 60, the body has already been through decades of wear and adaptation. Bones lose density, arteries stiffen, muscles weaken, and the immune system becomes less responsive. It's no wonder that supplements like vitamin D3, vitamin K2, and magnesium are marketed as life-saving essentials. Together, they promise stronger bones, healthier hearts, and steadier energy. But the truth is more complex, because these same nutrients can either protect or harm depending on how they're used. The line between life-saving and slowly damaging is thinner than most people realize. Vitamin D3 often feels like the star of the show, especially when blood tests reveal widespread deficiency among older adults. Low levels are linked with fatigue, bone weakness, and higher risks of infection, so adding it back seems obvious. And indeed, restoring vitamin D levels can improve quality of life dramatically. But raising them to high without balance brings danger. Excessive vitamin D can cause calcium to flood the bloodstream, and if that calcium doesn't reach the bones, it can settle in the arteries, kidneys, or heart valves. What starts as an attempt to strengthen the body can, in high doses, create the very diseases people are trying to avoid. This is why vitamin K2 becomes such an essential partner. It acts as the traffic guide for calcium, activating proteins that move it into bones and teeth. Without K2, calcium behaves like an uninvited guest wandering into places it doesn't belong. For someone over 60, this misplacement can mean calcified arteries or stiff joints instead of resilient bones. But K2 is not universally safe either. Those on blood-thinning medication may find that K2 interferes with their prescription, creating a dangerous conflict that requires careful medical supervision. Magnesium, often overlooked, is the quiet stabilizer of the system. It enables vitamin D to be converted into its active form and supports muscle relaxation, heart rhythm, and nervous system balance. Many older adults are deficient without realizing it, since medications like diuretics and acid blockers can strip magnesium from the body. Adding it back can improve sleep, reduce high blood pressure, and prevent muscle cramps, but too much, especially for those with reduced kidney function, can lead to low blood pressure, irregular heartbeats, or toxic buildup. So the question, are these supplements life-saving or slowly killing, depends entirely on how they're approached. Taken together in proper doses, under medical guidance, and adjusted based on blood work, they form a protective triad that supports aging with strength and vitality. They reduce fractures, improve heart health, and maintain energy levels in a way that no single nutrient could achieve on its own, but taken in isolation, in excessive amounts, or without consideration of existing conditions and medications, they can tip into harm. The same trio that offers independence and vitality can, if mishandled, lead to clogged arteries, kidney stress, or dangerous imbalances. In the end, these nutrients are neither miracle cures nor hidden poisons by themselves. They are tools, powerful ones that demand respect and balance. For those over 60, they can absolutely be life-saving, but only if treated with the same care as any other form of medicine.